year is 2005. Batman Begins is released in theaters, directed by Christopher Nolan, a little-known British-American filmmaker. He was just a few years into his career, and this was the first big-budget production for him. Nolan was also a very particular creator, famously refusing to use a second-unit production in order to maintain the creative integrity of his vision. This movie would certainly justify his quirks, making back more than double its initial budget and greenlighting 2 sequels that went on to gross a combined $2 billion. Suffice to say, Nolan demonstrated to the world that comic book movies can be taken seriously, and effectively washed away the stench of the Joel Schumacher series that sullied the franchise for nearly 10 years. In fact, the Nolan series is considered an influential and often imitated work that redefined the superhero comic book movie genre specifically, and filmmaking in general. As a result of the indelible influence of these works, the United States Library of Congress chose The Dark Knight for preservation in the National Film Registry as culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. A renaissance for the superhero genre began with Batman Begins, igniting excitement for moviegoers not felt since the franchise was handed over to another quirky filmmaker 16 years earlier. However, just a year before this movie changed the cultural zeitgeist as we know it, we would get a film that was so terrible that the thought of producers going anywhere near a project starring a spandex-clad protagonist was laughable at best, and at worst would guarantee your career was torpedoed into the 7th circle of hell. That movie was Catwoman. The movie basically starts like this. The protagonist is a career-driven woman who works as a graphic designer of a cosmetic company. She has no husband, children, has no social life, with a preternatural attraction toward cats. She's essentially a meme in the manosphere and red pill communities.
You're gonna die alone with your cats.
Her clothes, hair, and characterization suggest that she is supposed to be a homely loser who lacks any shred of confidence, but is as believable as glasses and an aw shucks disposition being the only thing that differentiates Clark Kent from Superman. Her name is Patience, which is exactly what is required to complete this movie in one sitting. I didn't, so I will name her appropriately. No Patience, main support is her best friend Sally. No, Horny, the body positive, before that was a thing, comic relief who, when isn't racking up wanton sexual harassment claims around the office, douses herself with the free samples of skin cream the company plans to launch. A product that I'm sure has gone through the rigors of FDA vetting, hasn't been tested on animals, is vegan friendly, and is a revolutionary product that carries no side effects whatsoever. The company is owned by the Merovingian, who is pitching this product to the board. Alongside him is his wife, who isn't Persephone, but Sharon Stoneface, a name I will probably use interchangeably with RBF. Stoney used to be the face of the company, but is retiring her position for a younger and curiously long-haired brunette that is definitely not the Merovingian side piece. She is not salty about any of this. No Patience is summoned by the Merovingian, where she enters his office and becomes an unwitting party to the power couple's shared sexual kink of shaming their minority subordinates. Pre-Me Too? Pre-DEI? What a simpler time. No Patience is lead designer for the ad campaign associated with the product and is being scolded for her shoddy work. She sits confused in what is a blatant example of gaslighting, but pleads for another opportunity. She is given until the next day by midnight to correct these imagined errors. She spends the morning of the next day painting out her feelings, and she sees a cat at her window. Looking to fill that child-sized hole she uses a box of Frenzy, a dark red blend to fill, she decides to immediately take this animal as her own. Her ticking biological clock-inducing psychosis then causes her to go out on the ledge of the second-story window and retrieve the conniving feline, where it now appears to spectators below as if she's about to do the thing she legitimately contemplated many times before. Enter love interest. Benjamin's not black, because this is not a romance film and is not directed by a person of color. So until the movie by the name of Black Panther comes along, there can't be 2 black leads in a superhero movie that has even a passing romantic element. And no, Blade doesn't count. A cop who happens to witness this crazy cat lady about to do a flip. He jumps out of his car and begins to talk her off the edge. Seeing that he's communicating with someone intent on saving non-existent animals, he skips several steps in the Intro to Negotiation course he was taking at the community college and runs up to her apartment, managing to catch her in time in a move that looks like the Wire team did not care to make this look believable at all. Sure, No Patience is about 5'5" and probably 115 pounds, but there's no way she can be scooped up in that manner, especially when she's in the process of falling. But what do I know? I don't physics well. After the awkwardness that ensues, No Patience looks at her imaginary watch and the editor decides to make her shoes and coat magically appear as they both scramble for the door. Yo, you dropped your wallet. Well, don't mind if I do. I am a dirty cop after all. Cut to CGI overworld. Hi, I'm the stock gay character dude. Yep, we existed in the early Zoomers. Bye. So does no one change their clothes? I thought I was the only one who wore one outfit a week at work. But thanks, movie. I now feel represented. Not Black returns the cashless wallet to No Patience, and Horny makes an in need of Pedialyte comment before trotting back to her desk. Not Black begins to rizz up No Patience with his self-admitted Google education of her artistic interest. His how to hook up with women with low self-esteem game seems to work, and they're set for a date. She's paying for her. The three girls, yes, I'm counting stock character gay dude as a she because I'm rightfully assuming their pronouns, start gleefully chatting and being very unproductive. Don't you have a timeline to meet? A time-lapse Xbox cutscene later, and No Patience is delivering her revised art to the Merovingian, who's at the R&D laboratory across town. She tries the front door. No one answers. I'm confused. While this is around midnight upon her arrival, would this place not at least have a skeleton crew that's chiefly consisted of a few security guards, considering the facility contains products yet to be released to the market, many that are still in development, files of trade secrets and other classified documents, and a host of other things that may require round-the-clock watch to ensure its security, lest they fall into the hands of a competitor? No. Oh, and no big deal, this door is unlocked. Please allow the movie logic to leave when you close the door, thank you very much. She happens to wander to her laboratory, where she overhears a discussion between the head scientist and RBF about the dangerous side effects from continued use of the product. No Patience is then ordered by the script to be conveniently clumsy at that moment. The guards are radioed, and they become trigger happy. I guess a private security with otherwise no law enforcement authority can act extrajudiciously and shoot on sight. No Patience eludes death, reaching the facility's conduit pipes, but unbeknownst to her, she fell into their trap. The one with the more insatiable bloodlust flushes her out into the river. You know, this is also how they dispose their hazardous waste. No Patience somehow survives a fall that would have easily taken her out, and since she's unconscious, that means she's immune to the effects of being underwater. I guess she just kind of floated around until the tide fell, because she didn't crawl here and just pass out again, did she? Knowing the editor, there was probably a whole scene detailing this very point. The cat that's probably behind this attempt on her life calls up the squad to do their revival ceremony. Actually, they all just sit around and watch as the main cat blows her breath into No Patience's face. Let me tell you, my cat did this to me one time when I was sleeping, and it smelled like festering kibbles, a dead mouse, and the butthole it all eventually exited from that he just cleaned. I shot up out of bed and swatted Sylvester away. But I didn't get cat powers. The same can be said for No Patience, who has developed enhanced sight, hearing, smell, in addition to strength and reflexes. I'm confused. Why does it take other superheroes 2 or 3 scenes to work out the kinks of their newfound superpowers, and she looks like she's just starting a New Game Plus playthrough? The next day, we see that No Patience is freshly bathed, which I'm imagining went something like this. The cat of delusion and psychosis appears and has the information of a person printed on a fortune cookie paper that No Patience conveniently discovers. Transition, that is as try-hard as I am with my videos, to a house that survived the downtown gentrification. Here we have Joker's mom, Chuckle Kitty. However, since the multiverse is a thing that was made even more perplexing in this particular universe, in this timeline, I will refer to her as Cat Lady Prime, and I will also give her credit for having an exceptionally tidy house as opposed to those that are found in certain reality shows. However, true to form, Cat Lady Prime has humanized all of her feline companions. No Patience, perhaps seeing the end game of her life decisions, decides to leave, but not before Cat Lady Prime tosses a little of the gateway drug her way. She now has a new customer. Later at work, No Patience is being berated by the Merovingian. He's upset that she didn't deliver the design in time. I'm confused. Weren't you supposed to be at the R&D laboratory to receive that very thing that could have been left in your office? Did you head out early before conversations about the face cream side effects and forgot about your employer, who herself or a courier was supposed to be delivering your project? Why did you set up these unreasonable expectations and conditions only to not be present or ensure that a personal assistant received it? Was it just so that you could continue the humiliation kink that was clearly playing out? I have a suspicion that was the case, and the Merovingian was at a private penthouse with a new company spokesmodel, knee-deep in a Viagra-fueled tryst, and totally forgot about it. In any case, no patience, probably having the life-changing insight a near-death experience can bring, is having no more of his nonsense and proceeds to tell him off. He is aroused, but he still fires her. No patience, like the person who sends a drunk tweet and sobers up the next day to the prospect of cancellation, regrets giving the Merovingian the business. However, she's the hero of the company and is essentially congratulated for destroying her career in real time, so they didn't have to. Horny, with the bait of her thirst trap out, escorts her friend to parts unknown. That's when no patience spots the first thing she plans to steal. Because remember, this is supposed to be an origin story about a villain of Batman. And Horny passed out. This is a Saw transition. So I guess she's okay? I think I know what happened. Horny took her lunch break under the guise of helping No Patience, but she was just trying to get out of working the rest of the day. So she activated her munchie powers and got a free ambulance ride to the hospital. She's a frequent flyer, which is why she's casually wheeled around the building. Oh, and there's a doctor she's been, let's just say, stalking for the longest. So she's going to shoot her shot again and hope the end result doesn't mean that she has to give a stool sample. Unless Not Black is giving a speech at the local school that is either a voluntary act he's doing as the good cop he is, or, more likely, court-ordered as a condition of his DUI charges. No Patience shows up and gives him a trope with a message on it. You know the movie would have ended right here if she explained that she stood him up because she was recovering from an attempted murder by the goons retained by her employer. But no, it just leads to an awkward game of one-on-one. That is only second to the cringe exuded from a similar scene in a Marvel movie done a year prior. Proving that DC has a history of aping the worst of their competitors. This game, that is played in front of many school-age children, gets a little too inappropriate. That is, until this kid does the most mature thing out of everyone present. You two are gross, can I have my ball back? Stoneface is not liking the arrangement between her and the Merovingian, and she is salty. So I was being sarcastic earlier. You know, I hadn't watched this movie in full before now, and even then, it was a long time ago. But as I was taking notes in real time, I knew right about here that this was an affair subplot before I got here. And it just shows how predictable and paint by numbers this movie really was. Meanwhile, No Patience is living the unemployment dream, laying about, scarfing down cans of tuna. Horny, still taking advantage of the hospital staff's sympathy and pity because she's essentially harmless and not a pill-seeking problem, calls up No Patience to see if she banged the cop yet. Nah, girl, I'm just here making my bed smell like tuna so when we do get it on, he immediately regrets his decision. No Patience explains that she feels like she's changing and that Not Black might not like this new version of her. To which Horny gives her the basic bitch answer before getting off the phone to drum up another imagined symptom for the soap opera doctor to attend. Later that night, the last of No Patience powers awakens when she goes over to the definitely illegal apartment bar and herself commits several torts and criminal acts. I guess two wrongs make it right? Is this the message you're giving, movie? Anyway, this empowers her to get out that BDSM outfit gifted to her by Horny and gay stock character, double fist a pair of scissors, and begin pantomiming cutting her hair into the most ridiculously Karen style ever. Yes, because we did it first. Put on some makeup and emerge as Catberry. Oh, and look out, Captain Marvel. She steals a dude's motorcycle. I feel like this cat has been serving the same purpose as this dog.
What do you want?
I want you to go out and kill. Kill! Kill! Kill!
Steal this bike. Steal this bike. Meow, 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 meow. I mean, you could just drive on the street. After a seizure-inducing solo bike chase, yes, because you have to remember that in this comic book movie we're nearly 45 minutes into, the only action has come from self-inflictions. Catberry pulls up and the editor kindly takes off her helmet and fixes her Karen wig. She has one more illegal action in mind. Oh, but look, other people are breaking in, so she's justified. Call it being a good Samaritan, and the fee will be that $80,000 necklace. Thanks! The practical effects team doesn't care. I like how in this version of Catwoman, her suit is just made from things that were either given to her or she stole. No assembling it out of found items, fueled by a concoction of delusion, anger, and a burst of creative passion in a construct of rough ingenuity. Anyway, Catberry watches the burglars burgle for a minute before delivering this gem of a line.
You boys thought you could come in here and steal all these beautiful things? What a perfect idea.
I don't know about you, but I think she channeled Eartha Kitt's corpse accurately, and the gentleman agreed, giving her rounds of applause. How she wasn't hit by the specific type of firearm that requires little to no aiming
Need a shotgun, man. It's got a good spread.
at that range is about as unbelievable as this film getting greenlit, but at least it produces enough smoke for her to get down to floor level and with a running start, kick one guy into the other. The third accomplice, make sure he gets to his mark before even thinking about lowering his weapon into firing position. Maybe it's just me, but if I heard my buddies emptying their guns in what sounded like a standoff between the cartels and federales, I'd come in blazing. But what do I know? I don't burgle well. In any case, it allows Catberry to turn into a pre-rendered Sims character and crawl all over the room. I'm confused. This isn't a Spider-Man derivative origin movie. How does she have the ability to literally go wall crawling? I get that cats are exceptional climbers, but Catberry is scaling nearly sheer walls and other similar surface with no claws because she hasn't gotten them yet, and a pair of heeled boots. She goes around the room in the most unnecessarily elaborate and danger-risking way to initiate the first official fight scene in the movie. Essentially, Catberry, her stunt double, and NPC avatar engages and kicks to the air near the accommodating assailants in a fighting style that looks similar to capoeira, or in this case, Catawera. She also slides on one like a boogie board. And if that wasn't humiliating enough, no woman fighting man sequence is ever complete without the proverbial nut tap. I will credit Catberry though. She returned the mask. But hold on, wait, what the fuck? Nope, this was an act of temporary insanity. See? She's going to return the items, even the ring, put that down, retain an attorney, probably this one, and throw herself upon the mercy of the court. She kept the necklace. Guess who's lead detective? It's not a surprise it's not black. You'd think a store that keeps highly valuable merchandise would have cameras at the very least, but no. Regardless, the stolen items are returned with a box of cupcakes because no patient's attorney advised her that sending sweets to cops would get her off on grand larceny charges. She's admitted to the bar? What does she do in her spare time? Oh, you know the movie would end right here if not Black simply made the connection and went straight to No Patient's apartment and confronted her. But that wasn't going to happen because the power of incompetence needs the runtime to be at least 90 minutes. Meanwhile, No Patience is at home, researching her newfound life of being a cat lady, seeing a great lineage of women who may or may not have been suffering from extreme toxoplasmosis. The interspersed graphics are recycled from the title sequence. This convinces her to return to Cat Lady Prime. Apparently, Cat Lady Prime was a college professor on catology, probably, and was denied tenure thanks to the patriarchy, and definitely not for her chucking cats at students who dare ask about the syllabus. No Patience senses the level of crazy is strong in this one and figures she's not about that cat life. She tries to leave, but it's too late. After casually attempting to murder her, Cat Lady Prime shows No Patience her fate: to become a furry. Embrace it, child. And if anyone calls you out for your deviant, antisocial, unlawful behaviors, just call them a chauvinist, sexist, misogynist,
and chauvinists and sexists and misogynists.
With a newfound confidence that only intersectionality could afford, cutscene Catberry takes the difficult run in Mirror's Edge toward her first victim. This is the trigger-happy goon who flushed No Patience out of the conduit of the R&D facility. She follows him to a club, not looking at a place whatsoever, where she makes an elaborate order for cream from the bartender, who is equal parts perplexed as he is turned on. But it could also be because he's 3 White Russians in himself. Catberry goes out on the dance floor, where the DJ and lighting guys accommodate her rehearsed dance sequence that gets the attention of trigger-happy goon. Out comes the iconic whip in a scene that blows away any other Catwoman whip introduction, including this one. Trigger-happy Goon is turned on as well. He rises to embrace Cadbury, who shoves him through the couch door. This leads to another probably super slow, but cranked up a few FPS and no less than 50 cuts before the first punch is thrown proper fight scene. She interrogates Trigger-happy Goon and figures out that he was ordered to flush out the pipes to cover up who may have overheard the conversation between Stoneface and the scientist. That means any security, maintenance worker, even the overnight cleaning crew were subjected to being flushed like a brick of China White when the feds are at the door. Nothing personal. Well, maybe the shooting. That said, Cadbury knocks out Trigger-happy Goon, but doesn't kill him, and leaves his gun for him to pick up when he regains consciousness. Oh, but look, this transition. Cadbury goes back to the R&D facility where she discovers the scientist toppled over in his chair after having gone into an obvious food coma. See, the marinara sauce on his pristine lab coat indicates that he sloppily devoured his meatball sub. I've been there. The coworker at my real job makes a cameo at this moment and catches the compromising situation, causing him to do the robot shuffle out of there. And Cadbury does the same, turning into a living mannequin upon her escape. The next day, No Patience, fresh from speaking to a manager, visits Horny, who is still milking either the company or taxpayers or both with her hospital stay. The only interesting thing about this scene is Horny, who is white, makes a statement in the vernacular common to African Americans. No Patience senses this microaggression masquerading as endearment and has repaid this slight with misdirecting altruism in two forms, enabling one bad habit, yes, all bodies are beautiful, while also making her quit cold turkey another one. Slay and catty, and well played. Cut to the only precinct that ever wanted to ensure it gets a Molotov cocktail thrown through its window during a peaceful protest 16 years in the future. Not Black slowly starts to put the pieces together of who robbed, then unrobbed, but still kinda robbed the jewelry store. The criminal profile of which is as follows. The perpetrator incapacitates the original thieves and instead makes off with the loot. But instead of keeping it and slowly fencing off some of the items they don't want, returns all but the most elaborate and expensive piece, indicating a litany of psychopathy that a trained FBI analysis would have a field day picking over. The suspect is described as a female, which cuts the pool in half, or maybe not depending on the day. Stopping short of any other important demographic information, I'm sure the criminals could have easily identified and would prove super helpful in making the suspect pool smaller. To boot, the returned items come with a cop-targeted treat and apology, curiously crafted in the same manner as this aloof but kinda hot chick you were on the verge of dating who ghosted you. Anyway, they go on a date. Not Black smartly refrains from commenting on her hair, but he does mention something that rattles her and causes perhaps one of the most unintentionally funny moments in the movie. That poor Carney just stated in those few seconds that it was on site the next time he sees her. They get stuck at the top of the junior-sized Ferris wheel, which gives them time to share an intimate moment. Little do they know that this criminally under-inspected ride is about to effectuate millions of dollars in fines and lawsuits. Not Black is either springing into action or altogether bailing, leaving No Patience to witness the immediate danger befalling an unaccompanied minor who I'm sure didn't meet the height requirement to ride in the first place. Cut to a POV, which is probably a reshoot because CGI Cadbury in daylight looked like an uncanny clay doll shimmying around the structure. Before, ta-da! It is at this point where I was completely confused as to what this version of Catwoman was supposed to be. Was she a hero? Anti-hero? Pseudo-villain? A pro-antagonist? Someone clearly off their BPD medication and just going through an episode? None of this matters because they casually leave and Not Black decides to take No Patience to dinner. Just so we're clear, Not Black goes against every instinct an officer has by not cordoning off the area and contacting backup so that an investigation can begin into what is a clear example of gross negligence by the ride operator, carnival owner, and many number of other people connected to this near travesty, not calling for medics to tend to the people that suffered, at the very least, bumps and bruises from the violent jostling of the ride. That isn't even to mention the kid who almost fell to their death not being seen for the apparent shock that would occur as a result. No, he just uffs off and everybody collectively resets their memory, getting back to having fun in that safety cesspool. No Patience gives Not Black a rain check on the date, making this the second time he was curbed, and he is now realizing that he is too 6'2" to continue to take this from her. That evening, Cadbury breaks into the Merovingian's mansion. Well, actually, she makes a perfect circular hole in the window of the door she could have easily just opened up with no issues, then struts to random places all over the house with as much grace, silence, and situational awareness as would a curious cat. Okay, maybe not. I'm going to take it on good authority that a young Neil Druckmann, who had just begun interning at a little studio called Naughty Dog, saw Catwoman in theaters, and this scene in particular stuck with him, serving as the inspirational basis for the most critically acclaimed, highly awarded, and most importantly, fan-adored game of his career. Thank you, Catwoman. Cadbury was only playing possum, and when Stoneface gets within, and then just outside of kick reach, she is relieved of her weapon. You know the movie would have ended right here if someone as high profile as Stoneface kept a Derringer by her side at all times. Cadbury obviously wouldn't have seen it coming. After a tense standoff, Cadbury sends Stoneface stunt ma'am down the stairs to the first level of the house. There's a lot of things I can't understand, but the two worth mentioning are, is one of Cadbury's powers an immunity to concussions? And, is Stoneface immune to the effects of stairs on older, more brittle bones? Cadbury states that she knows of the company's secret and that the head scientist was killed in order to cover up this fact. Stoneface asks if Cadbury is suggesting that the Merovingian was behind the murder. Cadbury states that she wants to find that out for herself, and Stoneface surprisingly obliges with this plan, giving her his location and a cell phone to keep in contact. This is where a utility belt of some kind would have come in handy. This is how cute women in impossible outfits carry their phones at a concert. Cadbury arrives at what appears to be a Cirque du Soleil performance the Merovingian is making his mistress tolerate for the benefit of the promise he intends to keep. 3 Christian Dior bags. However, she musters the last bit of her self-respect and decides that there are other ways to make money and attention and disappears from the rest of the movie. Unfortunately for her, OnlyFans is still 12 years away from existing. But there is MySpace. Cadbury appears. Hey, I told the agency to send the black BDSM model to the 4 Seasons and we would meet you there. Cadbury states that she knows about the cover-up and who is responsible for the murdering of the scientist, and no Patience, which doesn't make sense considering she was at work the next day. A ridiculously high contingency of police swarm the theater, prompting Cadbury to make her exit. She turns into her video game adaptation avatar to scale the background scenery, and she's met with Not Black, who appears to be the only plainclothes officer on scene. I'm confused. Isn't he a detective? And if so, that would mean he wouldn't be dispatched to a call until way after the fact, unless it was a situation that required all available officers. And considering this is Gotham, right? I mean, it's not expressed or implied, but I mean, it has to be, right? Which is the equivalent to a major city like Chicago or New York. There would be a number of uniformed officers available to handle the situation, not to mention Batman. Is this a Madam Web situation where the main hero can't or won't be mentioned? Yes. Anyway, Not Black is here, and I'm sure he quickly figured out that under the mask is no Patience. I mean, granted, he hasn't known her for a long time, but I'm sure he can identify her jawline, eyes, lips, voice, not to mention being a petite African-American woman who I'm sure if he whipped out his cell phone and tried to call her home at this moment would go straight to voicemail. No? Okay. He tries arresting her, but the power of a convenient spotlight gives Cadbury an opportunity to duck, quietly run along the metal scaffolding, and appear right behind him. Then, after being fitted in a harness similar to the performers, who are still performing mind you, gets gently placed down to the lower level to initiate a tutorial level fight scene. You know the type where the protagonist is fighting a non-enemy tertiary character, so it's essentially non-lethal, only this is filled with the same sexual tension as the basketball game. Ew. I mean, come on dude, you're getting a whiff of her right now. The body funk isn't even raising suspicions that this may be no Patience. Cadbury escapes apprehension from Not Black, but the writers boxed themselves into a corner when they wrote this. And so they wrote this. The next day, we see the Merovingian seething. He wants to know who this mysterious person is. After all, it couldn't have been the one I fired very recently and in a spectacularly embarrassing way, sparking a rightful retaliation anyone would see coming from a mile away. Stoneface enters his office and struts to his desk, but today is not the day. After a bit of taunting, the Merovingian engages in a bit of domestic violence that is quickly reversed uno'd. You see, Stoneface is not just a play on the actor's name, but the literal superpower this pro-hero, anti-villain has. The face cream makes the skin hard as stone, and it is only when discontinuing use that the skin begins to disintegrate, as the scientists discover. I'm confused. Wouldn't that mean Horny should have noticed her face becoming hard in the beginning of the movie, rather than a litany of other complications a non-attorney spokesman would rattle off on a late-night product recall commercial that she experienced? And wouldn't that also mean that since she's off the cream, her face would now display signs of deterioration? It does not, as shown in this next scene, where this isn't even a point that's brought up. Rather, she and No Patience girl talk over martinis about the upcoming date with Not Black. This manic head movement isn't a red flag at all. Neither is the way she's eating. This is crazy. Do not stick your dick in it. Oh no, he's gonna This scene in isolation looks like it was from a mid-level romantic movie both actors did as a it's just a paycheck role that did good enough in theaters but was mostly forgettable and would be fodder for Netflix and chill with your wholesome girlfriend on a comfy night in. But this is not that. This is a $100 million superhero film meant to redeem the still figuring itself out DC cinematic universe after the stench that was Batman and Robin. A film that can hold the claim of at least making its money back at the box office and a slightly better critic review on Rotten Tomatoes. Anyway, they kiss. He carries her home because she's a lightweight, and they do the horizontal mambo. She leaves her calling card on him. That was assault, but I assaulted that ass, so we're even. Coca-Cola sponsored this movie. Not Black steps on one of Cadbury's nails, which is from the necklace she decided to keep. That is when the post-nut clarity helps him begin to put the pieces together. He takes a glass that she drank from, which has her lipstick on it, and dips. No Patience awakens later, unbothered that she appears to have been ghosted, and just happy that the celibacy streak is over. To a very sophisticated for its time video call from Stoneface, who is looking at Patience and not Cadbury. Oh wait, never mind. It was just an elaborate ring theme. This is a regular cell phone. Stoneface tells Cadbury that she plans on exposing the Merovingian at a press conference and needs her help. But wasn't she the one who knew about the secret in the first place? That's the plot twist. Cut to what looks like the production office redressed to look like a police crime lab, where there's an unusually high number of people working at this hour. Photo analysis is conducted on the glass Not Black took from No Patient's apartment, and an image of the kiss left on his cheek by Cadbury the night of the Cirque du Soleil performance. It is a 99% match. This is the smoking gun, apparently. I mean, I don't think this is how any of this works. And the better evidence would be DNA comparison, because, you know, she licked the whole side of his face. Regardless of the fact that it would take weeks for such a test to return, a little movie magic can give an instantaneous and comparatively more plausible result. But what do I know? I don't forensic well. Cadbury arrives back at Stoneface's mansion, where she discovers the Merovingian is dead. Stoneface is revealed to be the main villain, who I am now naming Karen Wig Prime. She has staged the murder in a way that implicates Cadbury. Cadbury makes her escape, as uniformed officers pull up and surround the mansion. Not Black is among them, because of course he is. Countless of crimes happening in the city at any given moment, pending cases he still has to work, 12-step classes he needs to attend, and he can still arrive at every instance of this suspect popping up on the radar. It isn't explained how she manages to elude officers on the outside or the personal security that was hot on her tail on the inside, but she's back on the road in a Kill Bill outfit, not looking at all sussy and out of place. Remember Sears? They're bankrupt now. No Patience sees that the news has implicated Cadbury in the Merovingian's murder. It is at this point when I realize that all of this, from the date with Not Black, to the Tinder-like hookup, the forensic analysis, the call to the mansion, the discovery and chase, and local news report, happened all in one night. No Patience arrives back at her apartment the next morning, where Not Black is there to arrest her, something he could have did 12 scenes ago. He's only disappointed because he wanted to have sex again. Not Black interrogates No Patience, which I would think was a conflict of interest. Look, I don't have much by way of eyewitnesses, video, DNA, or any other corroborating evidence, but you had the gun that shot both the scientist and the Merovingian, and that's good enough. But I don't use guns, just like Batman. I don't know what to tell you. It's just too much irrefutable evidence that points you away.
We had sex.
You know what? Touché. I'll be right back. Not Black goes back over the evidence while not considering, interrogating Stoneface for any other possible enemies the Merovingian may have had. I mean, he was lost and after all. While No Patience has to exercise just that while sitting in her holding cell. The Cat of Delusion arrives and essentially shows her how to escape. And the editor has officially checked out at this point, because I don't know how this is physically possible. Is she phasing through walls now? What other powers does she have? The ability to look like a rubber dummy when flying out of windows? Cat Patience then makes her situation possibly worse by carjacking this guy. Stoneface proceeds with the press conference where, in perhaps the tactical nuke of Mean Girl moves, gives out samples of the product to all the women in attendance. Not Black is also there and asks to speak with her. Meanwhile, Catberry is at the R&D facility sabotaging the product's initial shipment. It works. I guess. I'm confused. Do they not have access to global distribution networks? It's not like it has to be manufactured from that one place. Isn't it just a matter of the formula being sent to other facilities so that it can be mass produced for the best possible launch of what is depicted as a revolutionary product? How can one place keep up with these demands? Even if this was a soft launch in the United States, wouldn't a multi-million, billion-dollar corporation have access to regional distribution hubs? Crippling a few trucks would be like a mild inconvenience at best. You know what? It's like 15 minutes left. Not Black becomes a competent detective and begins to probe Stoneface. Unbeknownst to him, see, there's the gun she should have had to take out Catberry. Don't know where it came from. Don't know why she didn't headshot Not Black instead of grazing his shoulder. Don't know why she needed to move to within 3 inches to fire the next shot, but it gave the effects team time to whip up. This rescue and escape. Okay, now put the fake foot right there. Not Black needs to take a breather. He uses this opportunity to apologize for betraying his instincts as a cop by suspecting No Patience until the evidence pointed elsewhere. Catberry then acts as if he's referring to someone else, which is in no way the actions of someone who is bipolar, before scurrying off to the final action sequence. Asian Goon is taken out. Trigger Happy Goon is closing in on Not Black, but he gets the drop on him. And finally, the main event, the ultimate cat fight between Ebony and Literal Ivory. Starting off similarly to this. I just want to point out that in no time does Karen Wig Prime look away from where Catberry is perched. So how does this happen? Whatever, get to fighting. Karen Wig Prime makes herself available to be kicked in the face. This kick makes her both fall backwards and down, and then immediately fly backward. The writers allow Karen Wig Prime to fight back. And it looks like Catberry is finished. Oh, but wait a minute. Here comes that Hail Mary power burst that all heroes get at the last minute. Cycling between her VFX proxy and IRL avatar, Catberry gives Karen Wig Prime the what for, using her diamond-tipped nails to reveal a stone face underneath. Catberry gives her a final blow, which causes Karen Wig Prime to hang precariously out the window. Catberry tries to save her, but Karen Wig Prime catches a glimpse of her face in the reflection of glass and can't stand the thought of looking like this and decides to speak to the ultimate manager.
Citizen Mama, your crimes are multiple homicide and the manufacture and distribution of narcotics. How do you plead? Defense noted.
This is a similar scene from a far superior movie. It is filmed beautifully and depicts a power-hungry, maniacal female antagonist meeting the fate of her actions by a protagonist who toes the line of what is legal and moral. She too is a user of the very same product that is poisoning her customer base, and to have her death punctuated with one last hit as we see her fall from her perspective is the chef kiss in filmmaking. It is beautiful as it is visceral. Then we have this. Catberry is a hero now, I guess. After much pestering, Horny has finally bagged her man. Cat Lady Prime is thanked for showing her the way of the furries. And Not Black is permanently ghosted, only slightly disappointed for not getting one for the road, but overall relieved that he dodged a cluster capital B bullet. She has come full circle. back to a single life with her newfound cat and a goal to hit the cosplay conventions and spread the message. Take in those simp bucks, girls. Halle Berry was just over 2 years removed from a historic Academy Award win, and in the middle of starring in what would be yet another moment in the annals of comic book cinema history. Perhaps it was because of these successes that similar offers began coming her way. The stars were aligning for her to lead what the filmmakers believed would be a tentpole summer blockbuster that would set many more precedents before it was logged into the zeitgeist. That wouldn't be the case, however, as it was bad. So terrible it was that it garnered a coveted Golden Raspberry Award, an honor that wouldn't be given today, mind you, considering these celebrities have paper-thin skin and a predilection to call any critics trolls and unfavorable remarks of their performances an act of review bombing. Berry, however, would take it all in stride, going to the 25th annual ceremony at the Ivar Theater in Hollywood, California on the 26th of February 2005 and proudly accepting her prize. Her presence was based on what was instilled in her by her mother as a child, that if you aren't able to be a good loser, you're not able to be a good winner. And for that, she is a winner for being the first ever to stand on business, because it takes no effort to receive a win with your head held high. But it takes a certain kind of person to take an L without batting an eye. Unfortunately, in the common landscape, the latter has mutated into a concoction of smugness, narcissism, and delusion that has long caused us to stop laughing with the subjects, but instead at them. 2004 was a simpler time.